Our own mind has to be changed. We have to change our mind about ourselves. In what way? A knowledge of self. If we could be cured of our slave mentality that was indoctrinated into us during slavery, we would realize that just as the white man can do these things for himself and his kind, we can get together in unity and harmony and do the same thing for ourselves and our kind.
Let's do it. Welcome everybody to the BluePrint for Black Power podcast. I'm your host, I'm one of your hosts, Brother Dre. I've got my brother Tazamak Zarai with me here. I also got my brother Rashad Sekou. What's going on with you guys today?
What's happening?
Hey, it's all good.
All right. Y'all ready to jump into this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So today we are starting with the book written by the late, great Dr. Amos N. Wilson called The Blueprint for Black Power. We're going to be breaking down each section of the book, but we're going to go through it very, very slow. There's a lot of information in this book. We just want to touch on a little bit of the first chapter today, which is the chapter called What is Power? And today we're going to be going through pages 5 through 7, the first section of What is Power. So if you do have this book, I highly encourage you to follow along. For those of you that do not have the book, we do have an audio version of that section that we'll be going over today that is included in the link below. So if you need to listen to that before watching this video, or if you want to listen to it afterwards, you can go ahead and do so. And did you guys have something you want to say before we jump into this? Let's just rock and roll.
No, let's just rock and roll.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we're here for. Let's do it.
All right. So just, I guess, first and foremost, and again, I do want to jump into pages 5 through 7 real quick, but I did want to give people, and I don't know who wants to do this, but just give people a little background of the book itself. Blueprint for Black Power, and what it is. Anybody want to jump into a little breakdown?
Well, like Brother Amos said, you know what I mean? What is power? I mean, if you look right here in the first chapter, it's showing you that, power, it comes in a whole bunch of different shapes, size, and forms. Power, is like, what I want to say, some form of control.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a form of control, and I like the fact, just as far as the overall book itself, this is a blueprint, man. This is the plan. You know what I mean? This man, he went through, he actually, as we understand, he passed away in the process of making this work. He got down to the last few chapters and actually passed away. But even with that happening, we still have over 800 pages of material where he kind of lays out a plan for Black people to obtain power, liberation from white supremacy, and there's a lot of deep information. As we know, the brother Dr. Amos Wilson was a child psychologist. Is that correct?
I think it was child and
adult?
Adult, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm almost sure.
He was well known in the field, though, in that.
No doubt.
Right.
Yes.
He was well known and well respected in the field itself. Very, very intelligent brother. Has a lot of good information in the book. So I know, again, just going to the first pages, 5 through 7, from what I read, what stood out to me was in the beginning, he starts to talk about just power itself and how you need power. He started just talking about the physics of it, just talk about how you need power in order to make power is what makes you live. You can't have life without having power. People, anything in nature is inert in and of itself. It needs some sort of a force in order to make it move. And whether we, like he's going to talk about as we read on, the different types of forces that are used in a negative way to get people to do things. But whether it be negative or positive, people will not do something unless they're motivated to do it. So we need to figure out what it is that collectively motivates us in order for us. We need a vision. In other words, we need a vision that collectively motivates us to want to do what we do. Because if we don't have that, if we don't have a collective vision, then somebody else is going to make up that motivation, gonna make that vision for you, And that's essentially the situation that we're in right now when we think about just the Black man in America, because we don't have a collective vision, because we don't have any, when I talk about collective vision, we're not collectively trying to reach towards our own liberation. We're not collectively trying to establish our own government, our own economy, or what have you. And because we don't do that, all of that is set up for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we don't have the vision, somebody else is creating that vision for us, and we're motivated by what somebody else is giving us to aspire to. You know what I mean? They've set the goals, they've set the aspirations, and that's what we do, is we chase after what the European has set up for us, as opposed to having our own collective vision and chasing after that, our own. So I thought that was really powerful, and that was around just to, just to read that little part real quick. He says, power comes with being, with interactive existence, with being alive. It is the essence of life and the motive force of growth and development, and of the adaptability of living things to environmental changes and demands. You have to have some form of power in order to have life, period. So it's a very important topic, I just like the way that he starts off the book that way. But yeah, I just wanted to make that point. Did anybody have something they want to say?
Well, I like the way that you brought that out, because again, it's the way he says it is so simple. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's simple, we tend to overlook it and not think it's important. But everything needs power. And when we think about ourselves as a people, we don't really get into power. Like, if you think about it, like, what do we control? What do we own? What do we, it's those things that we don't want to have the conversation of, because then we'll have to say, well, we're powerless, or we're not practicing our power that we have. Either way, we're not all the way fully living if we don't have power.
Exactly. Which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, because, we feel as though we have power. You know what I mean? But when you really, I feel like that. I think Black folks, they really don't take into consideration like you said, the lack of power that we have. You know what I mean? The fact that we have no resources, we have no economy, we have no political party, we have no government, we have no military, but yet if you ask a Black person today, if they have power, they say, we got a lot of power.
Right.
We've made progress in America,
right.
that type of mentality, but that's, right. You own nothing, you control nothing. So,
right. Yeah. And you see examples of that, and jump in here, Sharif, on this one. I meant Taz.
He's got multiple names.
Exactly.
You'll find that out about us. We have multiple aliases.
We do.
You're going to hear Raphael, Dre, Sekou, Rashad, Tazamat. You're going to hear a lot. Don't get confused.
Right. But no, we don't like our power. When we talk about power, when we talk about the fact that, we see a lot of brothers getting murdered in the streets. If you had real deal power, that would not happen. And again, we can look at other countries. We look at people from other countries that don't get murdered over here because they have some power from another country that will back them up. So it goes deeper than just, being able to buy a car like somebody else. That's not power. That's not power. It's not about being able to live in a neighborhood like somebody. That's not power. You being able to buy a house. Okay. We're talking about real deal power. We're protected, we're safe because we have power.
Right. Absolutely. Even when you think of the whole situation with the Asians, where you had the situation, just recently with the Asians, being, I know in Georgia you had the mass murder of a few Asians or what have you, and you had some other acts of violence against the Asians. But you see how quickly the Asian community was able to come together and immediately get laws passed and things like that. That's a display of power.
Power.
That's
exactly.
a display of power. And the reason why they're able to do that is because of, again, the relationship that they want to maintain with China and so on and so forth. They have they have power. That's a powerful country.
Right.
You know, but when you look at, again, blacks in America, what do you have?
Well, they have something to bargain. When you're talking about the Asians and you're talking about other nationalities, they have something to bargain with. What do you have to bargain with?
Exactly.
That's power. What's your power to bargain with?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, people just keep pushing us in the corner unless you have something to bargain with or to stand ground and say, hey, this is me here.
Right.
You can't touch this.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Until you have that, I mean, like we've been saying for the last 10 minutes, there's no power. We have no power.
Yeah.
Think we have power. It's all mental power.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly. But this book is going to help us because that's what it is. It's a blueprint. Amos Wilson says it's a survey because once we go through it, we take everybody through it, it will start asking questions so we can understand what power is and why we don't have it, and then how to acquire it.
Gotcha.
It's going to show us how to.
Yeah. And that's important. You got to have a plan. And that's another thing. And I mean, Marcus Garvey had spoke about that, about not having organization. That's one of the biggest problems that we have. If you don't have organization, you don't have a plan, you can't do anything. So it's a very, very important work that the brother Dr. Amos Wilson put together.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you said, Kenyatta, man, Tazamak. Like you said, Mr. T.
That's right.
Yeah, we don't have anything that we can pull off the table collectively. To say, look, if you don't abide, if you don't listen to our demands, we're going to take this away, or this is how we're going to react. This is how we're going to respond. We don't have anything other than putting picket signs together and marching in the streets. And as we've seen, that's not effective.
Not at all.
That has not been effective for over 100 years.
Right, and that's not even power. That's just a show.
Exactly. Yeah. And whenever you see us like pushing towards that political and economic power, when we start to talk about those things, that's when the trouble happens. You know what I mean? Going back to Marcus Garvey and stuff like that, he was talking about political and economic freedom. Martin Luther King in the latter part of his life, he was talking about the political and economic freedom. That's true power. But when leaders start to talk about that and push their people in that direction, that's when we start to find the conflict from the opposition, really.
Whenever you take from someone, you are using your power. Whenever you take that's the force. Force is the power.
Exactly.
So if you're standing out there with your sign, we want freedom, we want liberation, you're asking. That's no power. Because when you're asking, you're where's the power in that?
Right.
You had the power to ask. What did that get you? Exactly.
Just by you asking is like you prove that you're in a submissive position.
Yes. Absolutely.
You're saying, please be fair with me. Please give me this. Right. Please give me that. Yes. You're accepting your position of inferiority. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Can't do that. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man. But again, too, and I know one of y'all were going to speak on this, and I think it's on chapter 6 somewhere, where he talks about how we're afraid, how Black people are just, because they've been conditioned through acts of violence and through the white man's misuse of power against us for so many years, that we have this false or this incorrect idea of power. I know one of you guys were going to talk about that a little bit.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say on page 6, again, wherever we find the will to live, there we will find the will to power. Now, again, it's a very simple sentence, but again, if you're really living, okay, not just existing. A lot of us just exist. We get up, we go to work, we come home, and we do it all over again. And before you know it, life has passed you by. Okay. But what I'm asking is, why don't we have the will to have power?
Because you don't want the responsibility.
Right. And
which we're going to get into that.
Exactly. He's
Right.
always spoke about that, and that was always a key point that we don't want the responsibility, because with that power comes a lot of responsibility.
Responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And go ahead and dig into that. I won't take up. I like when you talk about the responsibility thing, because that's a mental thing that we need to dig in to.
Well, responsibility, I mean, think about it. I mean, to take on something, it doesn't always, it doesn't always seem to be the most easiest thing to do. Take cleaning your house, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You got your living room, you got the kitchen, you got the bed, you got all these different rooms to take care of. Well, you have to you can clean that once, and guess what? Within a few weeks, it'll be dirty again. So then you understand that you have to maintain that and stay on top of it. That's a daily thing that you have to do. So that's what responsibility is, in the same order with us, in the same manner with us. I mean, we realize that, okay, this comes with responsibility. You have to maintain that. In order to maintain that, you have to stay on top of it. Everybody has to play their part, that responsibility. And if you don't do that, guess what? Things become what? Dirty again, disorganized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope I made that sound clear enough. I don't know.
No, that was
very
clear
clear.
to me. That was
very clear. Because again, it's not something that, again, we can all do something one time. And that's what the problem is. We can march one time. We can protest one time. We can stand out front of City Hall one time.
It is a continuous thing. It is something that is not going to happen overnight. Right. And that's the part where we fail with our responsibility, because we want it overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be diligent at this.
That's it. Why do you think that, though? Why do you think collectively we're so afraid of responsibility and organization and being, like you're saying, Kenyatta, consistent?
Well, maybe failure, or just, matter of fact, let me take that back. I mean, because once again, you don't feel as though you have to put in that kind of responsibility, because first of all, throughout history, what real responsibility have you been shown to do?
Boom. Yeah.
Throughout history, you know what I'm saying? What real things have you as a Black man or Black woman throughout history been able to, you know what I'm saying, grow up and say, well, my family did this, or my family did that, or whatever it may be. I mean, throughout the majority of our history, we've learned that we come from slaves. Abraham Lincoln saved our lives. Martin Luther King carried the torch on from there with a dream, and we got everything we need today. What more responsibility do I need? I went out and got a job.
Right, it's that dependency. Yeah, exactly. We and really, I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but yeah, it's definitely Black people, but really when you just look at the entire country itself, we've become so dependent on the system that nobody really thinks on their own or operates on their own. You have a system that thinks for you. You know what I mean? For everything from your job to your shopping, to your education, to your health, all of that, everybody does the thinking for you, and nobody is encouraged to think on their own. But also too, I think it's an important part and the brother does hit on it in the beginning. Like I said, is the fear, the interpretation of power, that a lot of Black people think that power is evil. That is something that should not be pursued, or you should not strive after. It's wrong to have power. We have we think that to use power is to be abusive, to be oppressive. And that's not, there's power is not good or evil. It's all in how you choose to use it.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Once again, there it goes. Throughout history, we have seen, I mean, how power has been defined. I mean, power to take over the Indians, power to enslave people, I mean, all these different kind of powers that, of course, you're going to look at it in a negative way.
Exactly.
The only time you've probably ever looked at it in a positive way is when you watched your superheroes on TV, like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, people of that nature. That's the only time, because they use their power for good.
Right.
You know, but other than that, where have you seen power used for good? So obviously you're going to grow up in power's a bad thing. You know, unless you talk about the power in this new engine that I got for this car.
Right.
And you know, come on. What other ways do you look at power as being a good thing? No, you even look at people with money. I mean, like people of power. Oh, they're evil. They're cruel. Oh, you know, they keep their foot on my neck. So,
and that's crazy because when you think about it from that perspective, we only see good power as being superpower.
Yes.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Good power, you gotta have like magical power.
Right.
But like just normal power is bad.
Bad.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the only time you ever look at it as being a good thing. I mean, that's the only time I've ever really looked at it as being a good thing, growing up as a child, or you know, something of that nature.
Right.
Other than that, you know, if you even ask your parents, Mommy, what is power? Well, power is where, you know, people like incorporate, you know what I'm saying, places where they, you know, make mommy work really, really hard.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Power is when somebody can tell you what to do and you can't
it.
you know.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That's all power.
Right.
She uses her power to around the house.
No, she-
This boy, you know, so.
But
Power,
that
as
is
that kid looks at, so when his mom tells him to clean up the room, what? See, power's a bad thing. Amen.
exactly. You know, I got a whooping for not doing that. That's power's bad. You know?
Right.
Right.
You get the real full understanding of, you know, what power really is. It's a good thing. We've just realized that, I mean, just in some fake way that it's a bad thing, but it really is a good thing.
Exactly.
It just has to be used properly.
Exactly.
In its right accordance.
That's it.
If you're not going to, you know what I'm saying, do it that way, then obviously, you know, you can make power do whatever you want. I mean, like I was saying earlier, it comes in all shapes, size, and forms. You can form it into any kind of way you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, again, going back just to the natural law.
You can only do that if you understand what power is. You can make it do whatever you want it to do, if you understand what it is.
Right. Again, going back to that natural law too, it's the same thing. Like in nature, you can use nature for good things, but you can also use nature for bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you can use nature to heal people, but you can also use nature to make the atomic bomb. It's all in how you choose to use it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, so yeah. But I just thought that was deep. Oh, hold on one second. All right, so let's jump on to this this last part, the very last paragraph of the first section. I think is very, very powerful, and I know we were talking about this a little before. We want to speak on this point, but I'll just read it real quick. It says, "Therefore, if they," when it says they, talking about the black population, if they are to survive and prosper in freedom, then, like it or not, African peoples must come to terms with power. We must ever be conscious of the fact that, quote, the establishment, whatever rewards it gives us, will also, if necessary to maintain its control, kill us, end quote. That's powerful.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
And when you see that right there, once again, it says, African people must come into terms with power. That's like I was just saying a few minutes ago about understanding power. You come into terms. You're trying to understand what power is, and once you come into those terms of what power is, then you have an understanding of it, and you have to understand even off of that. Even off of that, we must ever be cautious of the fact that the establishment. Who's the establishment? Well, for right now, I'll just say the oppressors.
Okay.
Who are the oppressors? We will get into that. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to put it out there and say, systematic racism, white structure, if you want to say that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But just know at this end part when it says whatever rewards it gives to us will also, if necessary, to maintain its control, kill us. Well, basically, that's just letting you know, by any means necessary to control the power that they have, that establishment. If it comes down to it, we will kill you.
Yeah.
All of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I like you were saying, the fact that he says that Africans have to come to terms with power. You've got to accept the fact that in order for you to do anything in life, you need power.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And power is not evil. You know what I mean? You need, and in fact, if you see power being abused, it's our obligation to take that power and use it in a way that's not abusive. You know what I'm saying? We have that responsibility. And like you're saying, if we can sit down and we can allow ourselves to be dependent on this system that we did not ourselves develop, but we have to know that system at any time can turn against you, if it needs to. You know what I mean? If it needs to wipe you out and get rid of you, and it has, exactly. History has shown us that it has time and time again. That's what it will always do.
What do you think the crack epidemic was? What do you think this prison incarceration is?
Exactly.
It's always, indeed, these powers are come in all shapes, sizes, and forms.
Yeah. Because again, it's all about control. It's about controlling numbers. It's about controlling your mentality, your psychology. It's about controlling your desires, your aspirations. It's all about control. So if you give all that control to somebody, you know what I mean? They can use it. Yeah, they can use it to benefit you, but they can also use it to hurt you.
To hurt you.
So
it's always going to look in the best interest to benefit you. Always comes out looking like that. But in the end, it was against you.
Exactly.
And it hurt.
And even when you think about it, even the stuff that benefits us, like, okay, you go to college or what have you, you get yourself a good job, you get yourself a good house or what have you, but who are you ultimately really benefiting? You know what I mean? We talked about this before. You're still building up somebody else's power structure while at the same time neglecting your own power structure, neglecting your own independence. You know what I mean? So in a sense, you're still actually actively killing yourself. Killing your nation, killing your opportunities, So that is wild. That is wild. But did you have a point that you wanted to say something on that, Rashad, as well?
No, because I actually agree with what y'all are saying. It's just a matter of, again, we're being killed because we have no power. And that's a problem that I don't think we want to face and talk about. We think that, when brothers die out here in the streets, we think, okay, that's just another cop killing or cop murder. But it's not. It's showing power. Okay, because if we look at the cases of the brothers and sisters that have been murdered, and you see the circumstance about what they were murdered, you realize it wasn't necessary.
Absolutely.
Talking about people being shot in the back. Okay. People being shot in the car unarmed, like that's showing. Guess what? We have no power.
Exactly.
They're showing us that.
Right.
No, nothing's happening after that.
Right.
It's in our face, and again, it's getting worse. And what's this? August 3rd, 2021. Like it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, you guys are making excellent points. Excellent points.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying too, even with that cop killing, it shows us that we don't have any power, while at the same time it's being a display of their own power.
Right.
We can kill you and get away with it.
And there's
You know
no
what I mean?
consequences. They might get suspended with pay or without pay for
Right.
a little while. That's it.
Right.
That's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
That's a vacation.
Yeah. That's all. They're giving them a vacation for committing a murder.
Exactly.
See? Now, if the
Exactly.
shoe was on the other foot, we'd be
It's the killer's
incarcerated.
reward.
Right. Right.
And that's
Right.
again shows power. What we're gonna have to edit that part out. Damn, I forgot my point.
Was you gonna say?
It goes to show.
Yes, it goes to show when they throw us in prison the power that they have. Because again,
Right.
that's a whole nother topic. But again, they show their power by throwing us in prison by committing the same act when they don't go to prison.
Absolutely.
Think about this. The whole legal system is a display of power because we have no part in making these laws.
At
You know
all.
what I mean? The whole system. They say what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all a setup, you know, from the very major laws even to the small, minute laws. Like I was thinking about it the other day, just think about traffic court, you know, and little small fines and things like that. Like, who makes up these rules? Who makes up these laws and enforces them? And as we all, you know, and again, we've talked about this before, a lot of times, you know, these laws, we understand, especially these little misdemeanor laws, they're set up to inflict punishment on the poor. Because the people that suffer the most are the people that don't have any income, don't have any power.
Power.
Exactly. You have no power. You got power. You can go in there. You can kind of manipulate and maneuver and things, but you have no power. You're the one that's going to suffer the most.
That's right.
You know. So
now think about that for a second. What power is right there? Because I mean, if you have a community, you mean, and you own the businesses, the bank, and the property there in your community. You know, that represents power compared to a person that lives inside someone else's community. You know what I mean? Where they move all these people in and you guys just pay rent. Well, that shows you right there. You know what I mean? Compared to the people who own their own things. You can't just walk in here and move everyone out like that. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? We're just taking it. We go back to take again, representing our power. You can't do that. I mean, it comes with a lot behind that, because now I'm going to use my power towards you to prevent you from, you know what I'm saying, invading my power. You know what I'm saying, my community.
Exactly.
You have all of us in these neighborhoods. We claim we have a community, but we just have neighborhoods, and we live in these neighborhoods. We pay rents. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that to the point where, you know, these people will say, hey, you know what I'm saying? You're moving from section A to section B. No, I'm not. Yes, you are.
That's it.
That, or you know what I'm saying? You find something else. I mean, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because you don't have power. You're full. I mean, that's basic gentrification when you think about it too. You begin to raise prices in the area.
Now we're talking about people who are just paying rent. So there's the other section of our Black people. Well, I don't pay rent. I pay a mortgage. Well, it's the same thing.
It is.
It's the same exact thing.
Right.
I mean,
how do you own your house if you don't have the deed?
Right.
Thank you.
Stop paying your mortgage and see how much of your house you own.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? When they foreclose on it, they're not going to give you a portion of it. They're going to say, okay, you paid off this much. So since when we foreclose on it, we're going to give you the master bedroom. You can keep that.
That's it.
You don't own none of it.
Right.
You own the yard.
You have a subdivision of Black people, you know what I'm saying, living in you know what I'm saying, in a subdivision. They're all paying on their mortgages, but like you said, which one of them own the deed to their house?
None of them.
Maybe a handful of them do.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Exactly. That's
true.
You
know what I'm saying? But so there's no power there. This is what this whole thing comes down to. I mean, you don't have no community. You don't really have a neighborhood. You don't have anything. You have zilcho. Wasn't we speaking on something just yesterday about, about these plazas? You know, you have all these stores inside of these plazas. You know what I mean? You might find a lot of Black people working there, but they don't own none of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And just another thing to hit on that, as far as the houses and even the plazas, on a deeper level, what's crazy about that is, technically speaking, the white man doesn't even own the land. Like, we all understand that the land was something that he himself stole.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all under this regime where we have to play by his rules still. So I still have to go to you and ask you for the land and purchase the land from you and go. But again, the way that you got the land was by illegitimate means.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So truth, you know what I mean? So even by us playing by the system, we give the system power.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's very, very, and he's going to go, and we understand that Dr. Amos is going to dive into these things in later chapters, which we'll be discussing. I think next week we're going to be talking about next week the topic is going to be the typology of power, when we start to go and break down the different, not all of them, he's not going to go into depth, but he's going to cover a few forms of power, the ones that the white man is known to use excessively when it comes to Black people, but really the world in general. Right. So yeah, it's going to be nice to see him go into that. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week, unless you guys had any closing points or things like that y'all want to touch on.
No, I'm just saying, this is Tazamak, stay Black.
That's right.
All righty. All right, so we got Tazamak in the house. You got to wait, Tazamak. Gotta make sure you get that.
That's right.
It's Hebrew.
That's right.
That's right.
And we got brother Sekou, Rashad Sekou. I'm your brother Raphael Andre. We do thank you for joining us. Also, too, again, if you want to actually hear this section read, we do have that link again included down below. So you can go ahead and click on that and listen to the read. And we will be back with you next week to cover a new section of the Blueprint from Black Power. And that's going to be the typology of power. So we look forward to seeing you then. And thank you for joining us.
Peace.
Peace.
One.